This week's Parsha is Parshas devarim. Parshas devarim begins Moshe's final speech before his death. Moshe speaks about in this week's Parsha the attitude that the Jewish people left Mount Sinai. After accepting the Torah at Mount Sinai, the Jewish people encamped near Har Sinai, near Mount Sinai, for quite a bit of time. At the conclusion of that time, Hashem tells Moshe to tell the Jewish people that they need to move on. The wording that the pasuk uses, that the verse uses, is Rav lachem sheves bahar hazeh. Your dwelling has become great at this mountain. The strange wording is explained by Rashi that the reason why the dwelling has become great in the respect that you have accomplished a lot at this encampment. You accepted the Torah, you studied the Torah, and now you observe the Torah, and you also have appointed a judicial system, and other things that the Rashi explains the Jewish people accomplished at the encampment at Mount Sinai. So, Rav lachem sheves bahar hazeh, your dwelling has become great, means that you have accomplished a great many things at this encampment. Now it's time to move on. Meaning, to the Jewish people's credit, they have accomplished a lot. At the same time, though, we see a very negative connotation to how the Jewish people left the encampment at Mount Sinai. The Kollel brings the medrash that says that Jewish people left Mount Sinai ketina kabarech mibeis hasefer, like a child who leaves school in excitement. Meaning that the Jewish people were excited to sever that connection that they had at Mount Sinai, at the acceptance of the Torah. That strong connection, in a way, scared them, and they ran away from that in excitement. So we have two very different explanations for these words, Rav lachem sheves bahar hazeh, that your dwelling has become great. Great either to the credit of the Jewish people, or great that you have been criticized for the way you left this place. Now, these two explanations really do not necessarily not work together. There is a habit of people that once they have accomplished many great things, they fall into a feeling of complacency. I've accomplished enough, and now it's time for me to retire, in quotes. I've done my part, and now it's time for me to sit back and enjoy the show. In fact, we have a forefather who expressed this. Yaakov Avinu bikesh leisha b'shava kafatz alav rugzel shel Yosef. Yaakov asked Hashem to sit in peace and complacency, and Hashem showed him the face of Yosef. This world is not meant for rest or for retirement, for people to sit back and enjoy the show. This world is meant to work. Adam la'amal yum lila. The person is born to work, to toil. And the Jewish people at Mount Sinai, because of their accomplishments, perhaps, had a feeling of complacency. And because of that, they fled from Mount Sinai like a child who runs away from school, because they thought that they had reached their point of where they had accomplished enough, and now it was time to sit back and enjoy the show. So even though Rav lachem sheves bahar hazeh means that the Jewish people had accomplished a lot, the same sentence also means that the Jewish people, through those accomplishments, had fallen prey to this feeling of complacency and not moving on. And that's what Hashem told Moshe, tell the Jewish people, now it's time to move on. You have tarried enough at this spot, and your complacency is too much. Just a question on this week's Parsha. Parsha starts off with the words, Eila advarim shel diber Moshe. These are the words that Moshe spoke. The Medrash explains that the reason why the Torah says these are the words that Moshe spoke, as opposed to all the other times that Moshe spoke, where it says Vayidaber Moshe and Moshe spoke, why does it say these are the words that Moshe spoke, as opposed to and Moshe spoke, is because Moshe was not able to speak well. He had a speech impediment. In Shemos it says that Moshe says, Lo ish devarim anochi, I'm not a man of words. I have trouble formulating my speech, because Moshe had a speech impediment. The Medrash says that when Moshe started speaking words of Torah, that speech impediment was removed, and Moshe spoke perfectly. And that's why this Parsha starts off with the words, Eila hadvarim asher diber Moshe. These are the words that Moshe spoke. Moshe spoke without any impediment. The question is very simple. Moshe had been speaking words of Torah for quite a bit of time now. Like we said, this was the final speech of Moshe before his death. And for some reason, only at this point was Moshe's speech impediment removed, and he spoke perfectly. Moshe had been speaking words of Torah since Mount Sinai, and this is almost 40 years later. So why only at this point was Moshe's speech impediment removed? The commentators talk about this question, and I just wanted to know what everybody thought about it. Have a good Shabbos.